Bill Goodikuntz. I'm the movie critic for the Arizona Republic and for Gannett News Service. And I just told Mike, I saw this film in Toronto at the film festival and I was in a really crappy mood. And by the end of it, I was just elevated. I mean, it was, and truly, and thank you for that. First off, I want to introduce, and I'll ask a couple questions and then we'll turn it over to you guys, because he's eager to hear from you folks. But it is truly my pleasure and my delight to introduce Mike Leigh.
Thank you. I was here at the beginning. We've already met.
To reintroduce, I'm sorry. Just a couple of quick questions. One is that, it's not really a question, but if you could just speak about this. When you try to describe this movie to some people, as I've done when writing my review, Sally Hawkins' performance is just brilliant. I mean, it's right. I mean,
yeah,
and if you describe, she's happy. But I think that one of the things about her is, as we see through the sort of trial she's put through, she works at it. She puts a lot of effort into being happy.
Yes, I don't know whether I completely agree with that. I mean, no, I mean, seriously, I don't know that. I mean, obviously, the film is called Happy-Go-Lucky, because apart from anything else, you've got to call a film something. And it's sort of, the title more evokes an atmosphere than anything else. I don't think it's a scientific description of what's in the bottle, you know. And I think the thing about Poppy is, I think it's wrong to see her and talk about as somebody who is just happy, as though she's a kind of airhead, or that somebody who's eaten a lot of magic mushrooms, or smoked a lot of dope, or had a frontal lobotomy. Really, I mean, she's somebody that, I mean, she's actually, as we know from you've seen the movie, she's focused, she's serious, she's intelligent, she's responsible.
She's aware. I mean,
she's aware. She's a grown-up person, but she has a great sense of humour, a great sense of life, and all that. So in a way, I mean, I think, I mean, the thing about describing the film, and you know, I think it's not so much about being happy as being fulfilled, of being honest, of being focused, and looking life in the eye and dealing with stuff, and thus being fulfilled, and therefore being happy means that, rather than simply being happy in a kind of way that would suggest being sort of oblivious to the harsh realities of life.
Where did the idea for that kind of character come from?
Well, I mean, I start some of my films, this being one, with a kind of a feeling of the kind of film I want to make. And as you know, I don't make films conventionally by writing a script and then looking for an actor. And I mean, I ask actors to come and work with me, and I collaborate with each actor to create the character. And I knew that because Sally Hawkins had been in both my previous films, Vera Drake and All or Nothing, and I'm also very familiar with lots of her other work, and I've got to know her pretty well, and you know, we get on. I just thought it would be great to make a movie with her at the centre of things. And she's played all kinds of characters. She's played quite a lot of sort of depressing characters. But she has this energy herself, you know, and I felt that, you know, we should tap into that, really. So she's not the same as Poppy. I mean, she's a very different kind of person in many ways, but she has that positive energy all the same, and that humour. And so a combination of a feeling about a kind of film I wanted to make and collaborating with Sally to start it off with this character led to Poppy, really, by an elaborate process which I won't go into, because it's my business and hers.
Well, one more from me, and that the process that you've talked about, you know, with all the rehearsal, the improv and everything, that to me makes the scenes between Sally and Eddie all the more just unbelievable. I mean, just amazing.
Well, I hope that applies to everything in the film. I mean, you know, I hope that reality is there. I mean, you know, we worked first of all when we spent 6 months creating the characters in the world of the film before we filmed anything, and I mean, the first thing we did was create the relationship between Poppy and her two sisters. And although you don't see much of that, when you do see it, I hope you really get a sense that it's a real relationship, just like her relationship with Zoe. that obviously been together for 10 years, and I hope you get a sense of that without it necessarily being laid out. You know, we explored the relationship between Palme and Scott. We did, actually, first of all, improvised driving lessons, just with them driving around and me lying on the back seat trying not to laugh. And then later, we do what I always do, which is to build scenes drawn from those original improvisations, which we then went and filmed going around, you know, with the cameras in the car and everything in the real streets.
I thought everything did feel very genuine.
Well, that's the idea. I mean, for me, it's all about making films that are about people like us, and, you know, in a way that feels real. I mean, you know, as a kid, I used to, I went to the movies a lot as a kid in Manchester, England, in the 40s, in the 50s when I was a teenager. And I used to sit in the cinema thinking, wouldn't it be great to see a film, and I saw a lot of films, English and Hollywood films, but I used to think, wouldn't it be great to see a film where the characters were like real people, you know, like we are, you know, and that was my kind of thing, you know, and anyway, that's why I do it.
How about, let's have some questions. And I will repeat the question so that everybody can, if I can hear it.
Hi Mike, I'm Lawrence. It's nice to see a fellow Brit here.
Who let you in? No, what we shoot is completely rehearsed and organised and structured and distilled, and that's because I'm not into accidents on the camera, you know, on camera. I mean, there are one or two moments in this film which we did. I mean, like for example, the stuff with the kid in the classroom. All the stuff with the kids, in fact, is shot in a documentary way, just letting it happen. But that's very unusual in my film. But when I say we spent 6 months, we spent 6 months before we shot anything. Not so much, you know, what we did then is to really give birth to the characters and explore the relationship, build the whole world of the film. But for me, just to answer the other part of your question, I don't know. I mean, for me, the journey of making the film is the journey of discovery, where I find out what the film is. So it's really an investigation, and we arrive at the film by doing the journey.
How long did Poppy and Zoe know each other is the question.
About 10 years. She says it at one point. Oh, in real life? Oh, the actresses, how long do they know each other? Well, actually, they had Alexis Zegerman, who plays Zoe, actually is also a writer, and she'd written a short play which Sally was in at some stage quite a few years ago. So they'd met, but they didn't really know each other very well. But then they worked, as I say, we worked for 6 months creating all this, getting it together, and during that time they got to know each other, you know. But it's academic. I mean, they needn't have met each other at all, but they still would have had that relationship when it came to it, because we spent all that time doing it over the 6 months.
Did you guys get that? Unlike an action type film, didn't the more intimate scenes, I think, didn't that take a lot of direction and sort of guiding them as to what to do?
But you're asking me about Sally particularly. It's that. You see, the thing about this kind of stuff is that it actually works by working with very talented, imaginative, intelligent, hard-working, great sense of humour, and great generosity. I mean, it doesn't work with the kind of actors of whom there are many, who are egocentric and narcissistic and generally aren't interested in anything but themselves and their profiles, you know. So yeah, I mean, I, of course, do a great deal of direct, any shape or form, like trying to get blood out of a stone, because, you know, these actors, and not least Sally Hawkins, bring to it such creativity. So it's the directing isn't so much dragging a performance out of it, but simply being endlessly confronted by a rich harvest of choices. And it's about choosing, you know, selecting and refining and distilling what's there. But I mean, you know, constantly giving you everything that you could want in abundance, because that's what these kind of creative people who are really talented do. Does that answer your question? Thank you.